we are the Cultural Reset and Sweet Sounds Collective. My name is Nick. I'm the creator and founder of the Cultural Reset. My pronouns are he, him, his. And I don't know if you can see Shay right now.
Yes, I'll introduce myself. I am Shay. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the director of the Cultural Reset.
Okay. And Paul, if you can introduce yourself.
Okay, one sec. Just making sure the stream's okay. My name is Paul Seidman. I go by Sweet Spot. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the founder of Sweet Sounds Collective. Thank you guys for being here so much.
Yes, and we are coming together as two organizations because we really think that this conversation is something that's super important to have right now. And the goal of this discussion, the goal of this artist roundtable that we're having here, is to address the mental health crisis in music. It goes without saying that there are a ton of things that artists have to do to kind of achieve a success in the industry. And the industry has a kind of a habit of putting a lot of pressure on artists in a lot of different ways to create content. But what's really important is that we think about the mental health of these artists, right? There are plenty of cases in the past where artists have, kind of cracked under pressure because they had to go on too many tours and they had to produce too many records and too many albums, and there was no resources for them to really kind of find a safe space where they could kind of talk about what's going on in their heads and everything. So the goal of this is to really kind of talk about that in the industry while also kind of providing a resource for the artists that we've invited here today, um, to kind of talk about how they felt navigating the industry and talk about their experiences and where they think the industry should be going in terms of improving when it comes to mental health. So
Check, audio check. Can you guys hear me now?
yeah.
Yeah, you sound good.
Yeah.
They couldn't hear me before. I don't know why.
Okay, dope. I can hear you. So yes, Shay, I don't know if you wanted to say anything.
Yeah, I would like to introduce this event. So for this event, we have several artists who have joined us and a mental health professional who will be helping navigate this conversation. So kind of the structure of what we're going to have here is discussion and response based panel. And in the middle, we'll have a brief intermission and come back with another group of artists and have another conversation, because you never know what kind of topics are going to come up based on who is a part of that conversation. So I'm sure that we'll get into many different topics. But let's get started with introductions of the artists. So why don't we let them into the room? And if you would like to introduce yourself, tell us your pronouns, and answer one question, which is maybe a difficult question to answer, but a good place to start. And that is, what matters most to you? So Justin, would you like to go first?
I was wondering if I was going to be picked first. What's up, y'all? So glad to be here. Paul, nice meeting you. I think this being here for this event is dope. So I am Justin, artist, and he, him, his, and the question is, what matters to me most? My peace. My peace. I think, yeah, it just starts there and then kind of work around that. So if that's protected and that is where it needs to be, then I'm pretty good.
Great. Ara, would you like to go next?
Right. Okay, good. Hello, everyone. My name is Ara. Some people know me as Ash. My pronouns are they, them, she, her. And I am an artist of many mediums, but I'm just starting to step into the music industry. And then to answer the question, what matters most to me? It's a tricky question. There's so many ways I can answer it, but like the most common theme really to me is safe spaces to live your truth. That really has a lot to do with my own journey with mental health. So yeah.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have our mental health professional, Dr. Hill. Would you like to introduce yourself? And you can also answer the question if you would like.
Okay, sure. My name is Dr. Ural Hill, and I am the founder of HOTEP, Christian Services. That's HOTEP is an acronym for Healing Ourselves Through Excellence and Preparation. I also have that's my nonprofit. And then I have a for-profit called Hill and Associates. And I'm also a pastor. I'm a Baptist pastor in this technological world we're living in as well. I spent 30 years as an educator, counselor. I'm a licensed professional counselor with a PhD in counseling psychology. And I spent 30 years in education, 25 with the historically Black colleges and universities, about 5 with the state of Michigan as a social worker, and then the last 4 at my alma mater, which is University of Michigan, teaching in health and human services. And so I see a lot of families and I see a lot of individuals. I spent 16 years at Morehouse College and 6 at Texas Southern. And right now, you know, I was first introduced to a safe space when I first finished the PhD in 2003. And I went to a conference that was given by the Department of Education. It was their national meeting on the prevention of violence and substance abuse in higher education. And it's the largest conference that's given of that kind each year. And they introduced safe space to me. And of course, it was, you know, primarily around LGBTQ awareness for mental health professionals and creating a place where people could share and feel comfortable sharing. And I'll have more to, you know, to share with that. But they gave us our rainbow stickers and we put them up on our doors when we went back to campus. And I'll share the rest of that story when we come back together. But who knew how important that would be on our campus as events escalated during the year. And so we're in a very interesting time. I like the cultural reset because Nick, you've created this organization and we're at a time right now where the pandemic has culturally reset the world. And so God bless you for having the vision, you and your colleagues, to create a cultural reset. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. I also wanted to ask too, you know, I do want to know too, like what matters to you most? I'm curious, just in general.
What matters to me?
Yeah.
Oh, what matters is helping people to find their purpose. All right. That I've worked for the Art Institute of Atlanta. I've worked at different universities. I've worked in different environments from the poorest of the poor, but joy and peace being found in your infinite space in the universe. What did you come to the earth to do? The Native Americans put it this way. Why were you born a human being here on this earth? Not a rock, not a wolf or an eagle or a cow. Why were you born? What did you come to give back to your community? And I help people find that. And when they get stuck, and that's what I found my purpose to be, helping. And once people find that, that's where love is. And that's where peace is. And that's where joy is. When people are carrying out what they came here to do, and the evidence of their work is seen in the joy of other people. And that's how we create what we call the beloved community. You know, I'm out of Ebenezer Baptist Church. I was ordained at Dr. King's church and baptized and licensed and trained and ordained. And Dr. King had this concept of the beloved community. And, you know, peace is not the absence of violence, but it's the presence of justice. Right. He said, we're all tied to an inescapable network of mutuality, right, and a unique web of destiny. You know, that's where injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And we must learn to get along as brothers and sisters. Exactly. Or we'll perish as fools. And ultimately we're on our way there, although it seems, it seems like a troubling time. He would call this creative tension, creative tension. And so we're on our way to a better place. We've got to take credit for what we've accomplished thus far. So that's my joy comes in seeing somebody get their own aha moment and get to that self-actualization where they're doing what they came here to do.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I think that that's perfect because that's kind of the theme of this whole panel, this whole event, right? Because that's kind of what we want to do. So With that being said, I do want to start off with our actual panel questions, and you guys can feel free to answer them if you feel comfortable. And if you don't feel comfortable, you don't need to answer the question. So, first question: is there a time when you had to choose between your creative profession and your mental health? And what was that decision like for you?
So I
Am I
have
going
one.
first? Oh,
Oh
go
no, go
ahead.
go ahead, Aura.
Oh no, go ahead.
All right, take it away. You got this.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm a little nervous. To be honest, I'm still going through that. I'm constantly wrestling with mental health and understanding the process of taking breaks because, as you said at the beginning of this, Nick, we're at a time where artists are kind of pressured to constantly be creating content, to constantly be making moves. And it's been frustrating and kind of weird to navigate because I have stepped into these really supportive, amazing communities. You know, I'm really in with some of the rave scenes in America. And it's really cool to be, you know, on the rise with other artists who are up and coming. But then it's also like, you know, you get that voice in the back of your head, like, I'm not moving as quickly as these other people. I'm not, you know, accomplishing things the way that I feel like I should be. And it's all, yeah, it's a mental game. It's hard. And I've had to do it previously in the past when it comes to my photography and spoken word when I was younger and pursuing that. I guess I'm right now just in a place of learning to, again, be gentle with myself and understand that that's part of the process. And it's important to honor the call to rest because otherwise it's just going to, you know, affect you even worse in the long run if we don't.
That was a great answer.
It's
Justin?
beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. So to before I answer, just give a little history. You know, I've been in the music industry for 18 years, committed every day, working a day job, doing music at night for another 6 plus 8 hours. Um, Done a lot of internships, seen corporate life, and you start to see what Dr. Hill talked about in purpose. Like that's what thrives me. That's I knew what that was at a young age. And I found it in music, even though I know it didn't stop there. And so when you're kind of battling this, what I like to call the natural versus the spirit, right? You feel the demand that Art talked about on doing things the way man wants you to do it and the way tradition is. But I knew I got called to do this thing differently than most people, you know? And specifically, I found myself over these years becoming this, I think I'll call it like creative executive. You know what I mean? Like I'm learning the business, I'm doing the business, but I love to create. And last year during the pandemic, I was doing an internship and I really had to decide, was my health more important than sticking this internship out? You know, I've never done an internship, never left an internship early. Okay. So I know the push that you have to do, but you know, it was an artist manager gig. I was killing it. You know, it was like, oh my gosh, like I have all these artists I'm helping to manage, and you know, some were doing great things, some were just getting started. But my health, I had a moment where everything just, like I was sick, you know, already dealing with health conditions, but I just really felt bad and ended up being a week. And during that time, I had to pray, think, talk to, you know, my close people and say, you know what, I think I have to leave, you know. And I'm not gonna lie, it was probably one of the hardest things to do because part of me felt like I was quitting. Part of me felt like I was letting the company down and my fellow colleagues that I was working with. But I specifically said in my resignation letter that, you know, my health is more important. Um, and I discussed, you know, things on how to move forward. Like I still want to keep the relationship intact, but it was very hard for a moment to be like, nah, I think I could do it. I think I had like 3 months left. And it's like, nah, I think I can, you know, stick it out and be okay. Nah, I couldn't do it. And to this day, there was like, you could tell there was friction after the talk and this and that. And I just told him, like, look, my health is more important. Like I've been through a lot. And I know most people are afraid to do that because you got to keep your job, you know, if it was something I was getting paid to do or whatever the case is. But it was too important. And I felt like I was getting stressed out by this internship. So something that I was really finding I was good at, I loved, I had to cut it loose.
Dr. Hill, do you have a response or
Sure
some
do.
way to break this down?
I didn't want to jump in too quickly. Y'all know I'm a Baptist preacher, so I can go. So I stop me. You don't have to. But no, that is the work-life balance is one of the biggest challenges. And I think, you know, we look on the negative side of the pandemic and all the souls we lost, but the positive side of it is that it forced the world to stop and reassess. And it forced people to take a look at their families again. And it forced kids back into the home. And it forced everybody to slow down for a moment. I think we had gotten to a point, this whole multitasking piece, which was the new normal, where, you know, corporate environments have forced people to work 3 and 4 jobs at the same time and to do more with only one person doing multiple jobs and cutting people out. And, you know, we're working with, competing with robots and all of this stuff, where the humanity of the worker, you know, and the fall, you know, of the union ability to negotiate contracts to protect human rights, we had gotten lost. And we found that the same time that the pandemic, that we slowed down long enough to think for a minute, that's when we saw the true rise of the BLM movement. I think that Justin's piece on making that choice, it was a very important piece. There's the wellness. There's a medical model, and then there's a wellness model. The wellness model for life is the newer model, and that's where we talk about holism. It has five areas. Self-responsibility. That's what Justin did. He took self-responsibility for his own health, because if you don't take the time to take care of yourself, your body will take the time to make you sit down. All right. It can be a knock at the door where you have to go to the hospital for a few days. It can knock you out. You can have a stroke. It can take you out completely. But your body will give you signals. Your health will give you signals. So you need to take responsibility. I always tell people who are in intense fields that there's 3 rules to intense work. The first rule is take care of yourself. The second rule is take care of yourself. The third rule is take care of yourself, all right? Because in this high-paced environment that the world has become, spinning, you know, a bit too fast, we can put work, money, material things, fame, glory, all these things can go ahead. And this is where we see the meltdown in entertainers at a high level. Look at Martin Lawrence is an excellent example. I mean, these folks, you know, we can look at many of these people who just burnt out too quickly. They were going too fast. You know, their mind, body, and spirit was out of balance. The second area of the 5 is nutrition, what you eat. Food is medicine. The third area is stress management. What is your spiritual life like? Whoever you worship, however you worship, you know, whatever your faith system, do you have a meditative or spiritual framework that allows you to take it down a notch, where you're allowed to stop and listen, smell the roses, if you will? Stress management, was it exercise, whatever it is for you. And then 4th is physical fitness. Just taking care of the body, because if your body isn't operating, then I don't care how much creativity you have, you can't use it if you're burnt out. All right. And then the last one is environmental awareness, where feng shui, the energy through wherever you live. So if you can take responsibility for yourself and your own personal health, eat good, eat well, and, you know, manage your stress, work-life balance. You know, you need love, you need other people, and, you know, exercise, movement, and then environmental awareness, then that's where you have a healthy framework for success in the long run. Actually, that kind of wellness prevents disease. Wellness gets out ahead of the disease cycle, whereas the medical model waits till you get sick. And then the doctor says, there's obviously a problem. The medical model, diagnosis, prognosis, and then we'll give you a medication. And then call me in the morning, or we'll put you in the hospital for a period of time. But once you get to the medical model, you're in trouble. So we want to create a wellness model for any industry, and especially the music industry, because if you do get successful, like Iris said, you know, other people are moving faster than me. So sometimes we got to ask the question, is the universe will respond to us when we're ready. Sometimes somebody else is ready. Sometimes they're not ready. Sometimes we ask for things and we get it and we're like, oh my God, I'm here. And it's moving at hyper speed and I don't know what to do. Am I still me? I've lost myself. I don't know. And you'll have people who are, you know, driving the money train that can get you sick and they can get a short life for you. So anyway, I hope that answers that first question.
Yes, actually that plays into the question that I have next for the artist. So those are very, very healthy models on how to manage stress. And I definitely think that those are noteworthy. But my question is for the artist, when you find yourself trying to recenter, what does that look like? What are your techniques for self-control and centering?
Can I speak?
Yeah, go for it, Paul.
All right, I just gotta pin my video real quick. Hold on. And can you repeat the question real quick?
Yeah, what are your methods for control and centering when facing kind of a mental imbalance?
I really have found core values that I ground myself in, that being equality and enlightenment. And those have really helped me a lot. Someone else who helped proctor this hexagonis, also known as Mia, really helped me out in these situations because I personally suffer. I'm clinically diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and I'm also on antidepressants. So throughout this whole year, I started this channel to help people that are also dealing with those type of mental strife, and all the projects I pursue in music have to do with that. I want to bring that light to as many people as I can, because I know if I'm struggling with it, I know the rest of my friends that don't speak about it because it goes silent, especially for male artists, I think is the biggest problem, because speaking to a few therapist friends of mine, most programs are geared towards women and I'm geared towards men, and only women go seek the help they deserve. And I think that is really, really disappointing, because there is such a poor stigma on men having mental health, and especially families, the lack of family support for it, whether it be a relationship you used to have in the past that didn't understand it or didn't want to see it through, or a family that's never had mental health issues, they can't really grasp it. So that's also something that makes the challenge even harder, is that the lack of support you have, you know. But from starting this channel, I have unconditional support for whatever I do, and it really helps me keep going. It helps me stay grounded in those core values, and everything that I do, I make sure that I tail back to those core values. So if I stray too far away with it, whether that be with ego, is my current actions grounded in equality and enlightenment? And that's really helped me a lot.
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Does anybody
or Justin?
Yeah.
First, Paul,
Oh,
you got
sorry.
it. You got it.
So what I do when I notice and know that I'm starting to become ungrounded, I mean, Dr. Hill kind of spoke to it. I bring it back down to the basics. First of all, I start checking my eating, my exercising. I mean, everyone in Canada is vitamin D deficient, which really affects our ability to produce the chemicals that we need to in our brain. So that's a big thing. Getting out, spending time in nature is so important. I think that a beautiful thing that's come out of COVID is that when we couldn't go out anymore, you know, a lot more people started heading to the mountains and spending more time in nature, which I think is a beautiful thing. And I'm also a single parent to a little boy. So taking a step back and spending more time with family, which has been kind of what I've been trying to do right now, actually. But I've also got like my own spiritual practices, you know, meditations, daily journaling. I've really realized over, you know, the past 10 years of my journey with mental health and all that stuff, is that it's important to be proactive and to be doing the things daily to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because it's so much harder to climb out of the trenches once you've allowed it to get to that point, which, I mean, that's a whole nother thing on its own. But yeah, bringing it back to the basics, spending time with family and kind of just taking a step away from whatever projects or things that I'm, stressing out about, time in nature, and time with friends, which has been really hard the past year and a half, right? So just doing what I can to really slow down, because obviously that's something that is beautiful that we've had the opportunity to really take a step back. But interestingly enough, I was actually talking to a local paramedic, and he was saying how there have been a lot more 911 calls because adults are experiencing anxiety where they've never experienced it before. So thought that was very interesting, that it's great that we're having this conversation. But yeah, to answer the question, really just taking space, creating space for what I need to come through, because it can be very loud in my head often, and I constantly feel like I'm going. And so yeah, just taking whatever time to really sort out my thoughts, kind of contextualize what I'm going through, and that way I can kind of approach it better and figure out what I need to do from there.
That's a great answer, honestly. I want to hear too, Dr. Hill, if you have any thoughts on some of the answers that you've received here.
Oh, sure. As I love that. What my wife and I were talking about vitamin D today, and
Sure.
yeah, the importance of vitamin D. We're talking about how, up north, and we're up north. I mean, if we're right below Canada, like 2 below, or 1 below. We don't get enough vitamin D up here in Detroit, really. We're the big D. Since the sun has finally come out and it finally got warm in the last 2 weeks, people are outside like crazy. Depression takes also a more prominent stance in cities where there's not as much sun. So, and nature is so important to touch nature. There's the Mother Earth. And Mother Earth spirituality is so important. Getting up into the mountains, getting to the water. We're 75% water, but going through those checkpoints when you want to get centered. All right. The people who actually live the longest, have the longest life expectancy on the planet, are from the island of Okinawa. And that's because of those 5 areas. The traditionals, and I'm not talking about maybe this generation might be eating McDonald's on Okinawa, but eating fresh fish and vegetables. And they utilize martial arts. That's the home of Qigong and Tai Chi. And when we were going out to McDonald's, the traditionals at lunchtime, they were taking a break and having some movement, and they would take off their shoes so their feet could touch Mother Earth, and practice slow movement where they can move the energy across their chakras. And so with the diet and the exercise and the being outside and the weather, the temperature, and getting all that sun, I think those are some of the most powerful. It's very simple. If we get back to who we are, we're supposed to move around. And then our diet, we're really not carnivores, really. we have a long intestinal system. The carnivores have a short intestinal system. And so like if you feed your dog, you can walk your dog like 20 minutes later and he can go do his business and he's done. Whereas our intestinal system is very long. It takes a long time for it to get through. That's why the importance of the green leafy vegetables in our system. So our nutrition, our food is really our best medicine. So green leafy foods. And having only 25%, really the protein, you only need about 25%. If you eat just meat and potatoes and you don't have your green leafies in your fruits, oh my God, you can really make yourself sick and shorten your life. And I like the part, Paul spoke to depression and anxiety, and you're very courageous, Paul, to be transparent and to start a space for people, because one thing that happened, especially in this past year, is it created the perfect storm for people who already were, you know, maybe on the edge and not getting help for depression, to isolate, to drink more alcohol, to get that unemployment check and just sit at home and drink and be by yourself.
For sure.
You know what I'm talking about.
Facts.
Oh my God, it's a perfect storm. And so being and for men, I worked at a men's college for 16 years, and getting men to accept mental health help, and it's even more, let's say, conflicted for Black males to accept help, as we even see with, you know, the vaccine hesitancy, to accept help from a traditional scientific field. So to have men talk, men accept the help, and men be transparent and have a space where it's okay, you're still a man and you can have depression. It has nothing to do with your character or your manhood. I faced depression when I was an undergrad, and I didn't want to take the medication. And my father forced me. I was at University of Michigan, very high stress environment. And my father forced me to get help, and I got help. And the guy who helped me, a psychiatrist who prescribed the meds, he became my mentor all the way through my doctoral program. And he's now retired and in Vegas. But my point is, overcoming the stigma is about information and safe spaces for people to realize that they're not the only one. And when they're educated, I teach addiction medicine at UM now, that alcohol is a depressant. And many of these drugs just drive you further down the rabbit hole. And that's what happens to a lot of entertainers. They feel lonely. They feel like there's no one they can talk to. If you get to a certain level of notoriety or fame, it can be a very lonely place. So those two things I wanted to bring out.
That level of coming together and addressing an issue is exactly what I think we're doing tonight. And I actually wanted to take a second because we have a whole lot of new people in the room, and I would like to have an opportunity for us to kind of like take a moment. I think that if the artists who have been on would like to stay on and be a part of this conversation, you're more than welcome to. But for those of you who have just joined the room, let's do a little bit of an introduction, and we'll jump back into the conversation. So let's start with, and how you'll introduce yourself is you can introduce your name, obviously, your pronouns, and answer us one question, and that is, what is most important to you? And Keith TRYFLE, would you like to go first? You're unmuted.
Sure. I am Keith TRYFLE Hudson. What makes me happy is, really just actually just being happy. That's the most important thing to me, Life is short. We have to pretty much live in the moment and just do things that, matter most to us.
Thank you. And your pronouns?
Oh, he, him.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Next, could we maybe go to Shahari?
Might be on me. Okay.
Hello.
My name is Shihori, singer-songwriter. Came from Japan and now live in New York for 3 years.
So what matters to you most, Shahari?
What matters for me? Yeah, having excitement and relaxing myself is probably most important thing too. Get inspiration and also stay healthy.
Very nice, very nice. And let's see.
Anomaly Soul.
Hi, I'm Anomaly Soul, DJ, and what my pronouns are she, her, and what's most important to me is my voice and knowing that it's my voice and not someone else's voice, and reclaiming my identity.
That's a poignant answer. I love that one. And Kristen.
What's up, everybody? Sorry I'm late. I was actually cutting vocals for the album that I'm trying to get done, and I was like, oh my gosh. I thought it was like 4:00 p.m. I am Kristen. pronouns he, him. And what's most important to me is honesty and authenticity.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are at this, really nobody's late right now because we really want to have this be a fully well-rounded discussion with artists from different backgrounds, from different styles of music. So nobody's late. We're all just here. We're all just having a conversation.
Honestly, we're just kind of following the natural flow of this. It's never as planned, but that's what keeps things exciting.
Exactly. So I'm happy that everybody's joined on right now. So right now we're in the process of kind of talking about mental health in the music industry, and really, actually, we're in a phase of discussion where we're talking about mental health in general, right? So for those who just joined, we have Dr. Ural H. Hill. He is a licensed professional. He has a ton of experience, a wealth of experience in mental health and counseling, and we are having a conversation right now about what it's like for artists in this industry maintaining their mental health while also maintaining their creativity, while also navigating sort of the pressures that the industry kind of puts on them. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next question, which I think is a question that everybody should be able to answer, which is, how do you feel your identity has played a role in the trajectory of your mental health in the past year?
Can I go first? I actually have a good answer for this one.
Yes, Ara.
So some people know that I actually just recently came out as trans, pretty recently, like a few weeks ago. And that kind of has had a huge role in trying to step into the music. So for the past year, I feel like I've really been wrestling with trying to figure out who I am in terms of what my brand is and who I want to be as Arcane, which is my alias. And then I couldn't get to a place of creativity and being authentically myself in my my DAW, because I realized that I was still battling with a lot of depression and anxiety. I'm also clinically diagnosed as borderline personality. So it's just been a lot of wrestling with that. And I've had to kind of ask myself if I was running from myself in a way that I hadn't thought before. So over the winter was a moment of kind of coming to terms with being non-binary, being trans, and what that looks like, stepping into that truth. And it's been very liberating and amazing, because I feel like now I have the puzzle pieces to kind of put together who I want to be as an artist. But it's been a long time coming to this truth. I feel like I could have tapped into this truth when I was younger, but because of the society that we grew up in, and how we kind of haven't really experienced such a shift of open-mindedness up until the past couple years, I'd say. So it wasn't even something that I had thought about until recently. But that had only come to a point because I had broken down every other barrier of my identity. I am someone who has suffered from sexual trauma, sexual abuse. So that's something that's also part of my identity that I've had to work through. And it just got to a point where it was like, there's all these labels, but they're still not answering this question of why am I still so depressed, so anxious? Why do I still feel? Sorry, I'm gonna get emotional. Like, I still haven't fully stepped into my truth and what's wrong. So I feel like I couldn't step into the project of Arcane because something felt so wrong inside, just up until I finally accepted that this was my truth. And now I feel like it's actually opening doors. I mean, the fact that I'm even here today, working alongside Sweet Sounds again, these opportunities have been so beautiful. And so, sorry.
You're good. You're good.
It's been really cool because stepping into my truth has really alleviated a lot of my mental health issues. It hasn't taken them away. I mean, now I battle with new things like, understanding what gender dysphoria is and how violent that can feel in the mind and in the body. But it has given me a lot of answers to a lot of questions I've been asking my whole life. And now, it's opened up the path for me to continue to pursue my dreams musically. So Thank you for allowing me to share that.
Of course,
Thank
yes.
you for your vulnerability in that moment.
Amen.
That was incredible. Like seriously, round of applause for that.
Mhm.
That takes bravery, right? I mean, that
A lot of
really
courage.
does.
A lot of courage, yes. So I it's so weird to move on because there's so many things to unpack.
No, it's okay.
That's all right.
If anybody else has anything they want to add to that question, or even add on to what Ara was talking about.
I would like to talk if that's okay.
Yeah, of
Unless
course.
some. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me do something real quick.
And also, if you would like to answer the question, you can also raise your hand in the chat, just so we.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to manage the stream too. It's kind of.
You're doing great, Paul.
All right. Video. All right. So, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
So the question.
The original question.
The original question is, how do you feel your identity has played a role in the trajectory of your mental health in the past year? It could be your cultural, your ethnic, your sexual, your gender identity, any identity.
Right. Well, I grew up in a mainly whitewashed area in like Long Island, Queens area. So I was like, it's mostly Irish Italian, and I happen to be half Italian. So it kind of wasn't as bad as it could have been. But it just goes to show, even if you're only half, the amount of that identity is more prevalent than the other identity that fits in. And that's where the problem is. Like kids would call me a monkey in elementary school, and like make me do monkey ears because of Jimmy Neutron show that says, "Hi, I'm Paul." And yeah, while it's funny, like I couldn't imagine if there was a black kid in my school and like how that would have been for him or her. And that has really played a toll in some sort of way. It's very light, but it's stemming back from when I was a baby. My father left me before I wasn't even one, and I was a very cute baby, so I'm very confused by that. But and he's an immigrant from Iran, and my mother's Italian, so I've always been dealing with acceptance and abandonment issues, and it's always like trickled into my relationships because I tend to be always left in a relationship, and I don't know if that's my fault or whatever, but that's always on my mind creatively. Are people going to be against me sharing my truth and speaking my truth from my background, my creative side? Are they going to accept me for it? And everything I push in this collective is to speak your truth. And I know Ara is a huge proponent of that and sharing your light, and really tapping into what makes you unique and not being scared and not shying away from that. I think is super important because that's what makes a successful artist. Those that don't have the inhibition to share and speak their truth. And I know it's super tough, Ara, and I applaud you so much. And I'm so glad that we can provide you multiple spaces for you to share yourself. That meditation was beautiful. You are a beautiful person. You are accepted here. You always will be. Everyone in this chat has your back. I know I do. But yeah, and it's tough, like every day it's like when you're trying to pursue something new is like, is this going to be accepted? And that plays on my depression. So I'm lucky to have the people in this chat room and this room right now that support me to keep going and pushing me to keep pushing the envelope. And honestly, without this past year, the pandemic, I might have not met all these people. And I'm very grateful for it because I graduated as a civil engineer. And everyone has expectations on me to be making six figures like 3 years ago. And I've kind of left the corporate world because I didn't like the way I was treated. First of all, my mental health was being attacked by my last boss. It was actually, I worked with an Asian coworker, and he was the lead design engineer before me. Super talented kid, super smart, but the boss, full Italian boss, kind of like an Italian restaurant owner. He's smart, but he would pry on too many racist jokes, like mocking Asian voice, and it almost became like the kid above me became institutionalized by it. And then he started laughing about it, like when we're ordering Chinese food, and it's just like, how are you okay with this? I'm not okay with this. So how are you okay with this? And seeing that in the workplace, a professional workplace, seeing that happen with just 3 people in a mom and pop shop, I had to leave. Like no matter how much I was getting paid, it wasn't worth it. And right now I'm really not making I don't really have avenues of income. This is what I do. You know, I'm taking this professionally because of the power of this. I don't know if money will come, but I don't care. I work for free every day to push the people involved in this community, and that brings me wealth. And what, to tap back to the question, the growth of my surroundings really pushes me to grow too. I've gotten better in my craft just by seeing how much the rest of us are skyrocketing. So I really think it's how the people you surround yourself with and the support system you have that will help expedite that grief that you're going through from childhood, with your identity issues. It's really, who do you lean on the most, and are they there for you? Are they actually there for you? And because there's some relationships that aren't there for you, and it's hard to move away from those relationships. That's the hardest part, is knowing that you can walk away from relationships that are no longer serving you. But when you do that, you allow more space in your life for new beautiful souls to enter your life. And that is the main reason why I'm in this room right now.
Right. So that this question, I feel like I want to hear from everybody, and we actually have somebody else new in the room who hasn't had the chance to introduce themselves. So we'll let MURAT, if you would like to introduce yourself, you can tell us a little bit about yourself, your pronouns, and then our obligatory question is, what matters most to you? And I can't hear you.
Sorry about that, guys. Can you hear me?
There we go.
How are you guys?
Yes. Doing good. Nice to see you again.
Late. I got mixed up. I was told the second segment was going to start now, so I'm not sure if there was a mix-up. But thank you for having me on, and happy to be here with everybody. My name is Rob MURAT, singer, songwriter, producer, and actor here in Los Angeles, originally from New York. And the question is,
what matters most to you?
Peace.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That wasn't Justin. Similar answer. Justin Artist also answered the same. Yeah. So the question that we're asking right now, and please everybody, you know, like try to allow, like I want to hear from everybody, and I also want to make sure that we're respecting the time of others. So let's talk about how has your identity affected your mental health in this past year?
This is for me?
If you would like to take it, go for it. And then Justin, I saw your hand was raised, so we'll go to you next.
Oh, Justin, you can go ahead and jump on.
You sure, Rob? You good? All right. Wow, just let me say, man, my heart is heavy, but like in a good way. Like Paul, Aura, like y'all are just, man, it's just a lot of good stuff that I'm hearing. So I'm glad you repeated the question, Shay, because I'm like lost over here. But I think the first thing that came to mind is, you know, I'm a Black man in America. Like that identity right there is enough to deal with, to roll you in so many spaces. And I think for me, the year before, so 2019, before COVID, I lost my job and I lost my child. And I've experienced somewhat of Paul explained, but more attacked on health, which obviously can jack up my mental. But when that moment happens, it was like, God, okay, like I know you got a purpose, but come on. You know, I feel like I did everything right, this and that and the third. You know, is it a racism thing, or like what is it? Like, where am I fitting in this world that I went to school, had to drop out, got my bachelor's, then I got my master's. Like, you know, I'm trying to do everything right. And in the sense of being a Black man, you know, you got to work harder. And I think sometimes people think even being a Black man who raps, you know, I consider myself an artist rather than a rapper. You know, I'm a poet, I'm a musician, I'm a producer. But off gate, I'm just a Black rapper. You know what I mean? And so trying to really figure out this particular moment in 2019 of who am I and where am I going? with what he has chosen me to do. And going back to what Dr. Hill said about purpose, I've known what my purpose was very early, but right now at that moment it was like, dude, this is like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. And then I think I just had this moment of just realizing, you know, about our Black culture. Dr. Hill, shout out to HBCUs. I went to North Carolina A&T. But even going back to those moments of realizing, you know, I had some great professors that taught me more than just what the books were talking about. Looking at my family, and just like I started to gain power in the fact of the history of our people, and then the history of my own life, of what God has done for me. That like, yo, I need to go full steam ahead with music in all the areas, being an artist, being a business owner. Shout out to Paul, even what he said, just doing it because you love it. You know what I mean? And I know there's purpose in it. So I think I had a turn in this moment of just realizing that, you know, I didn't need per se this job to define me, define who I am. Even with the loss and the grief, that changes the mental space, but I actually used it as power and strength. And then going into the pandemic, I was like, what y'all talking about? Like, I'm good. Like, I've been working from home for a year now. Like, the whole mindset of just kind of seeing people in a sense catch up. But, finally realizing now everyone has to take a moment and figure out where you are and what defines you. And I think that for me, really just understand what it means to be Black and in the way that I am, because I'll end with this, that sometimes even being in hip hop and loving the Lord, I'm not accepted in the gospel area, and then hip hop looking at me funny too. So you still walking this, like, I don't really know,
right?
But I'm walking it out now, and it's a dope feeling. It's a dope feeling.
That's good. I love that. I do want to make sure that we hear from everybody, because we have a ton of people that haven't quite spoken yet. So let's all maybe try to keep and Destin, I love everything that you said. It's really poignant. But I do think that we should all try to keep our answers to maybe like a 3-minute maximum.
Oh my gosh.
I do.
Guys, I know it's like
the chat is okay with us going past 10. So it's honestly it's okay. The guys don't limit this type of talk because people are unraveling, and I think even if no one's watching, the artists involved need this more.
I just really want to respect everybody's time. I really am, honestly, and I think that this is a good point to say that I'm just so glad that we have all these artists in the same room right now. And it's like, I want each and every one of you to get to know each other, because I feel like there is so much camaraderie and like ability to support each other in this space. So with that being said, like,
we were going to talk to Rob about this question, because I really
yes, let's get Rob's opinion on this. Would you like me to restate the question? Okay, yes. So how has your identity impacted your mental health, or had contributed to your mental health specifically in this past year?
Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by identity. Well, you want to be more specific?
So by identity, you mean like cultural, it could be ethnic, it could be gender, it could be sexual. And it's like something that is a part of you that has impacted the trajectory of your mental health.
Or even your music style.
That too.
Okay. Well, I think in that question, inherent, we automatically think about in the cultural landscape, whatever our identity is, me as a Black man or minority, quote unquote, in this landscape, as a hurdle to whatever it is that we're looking to do. But I don't know if it's recent or it's been with me forever. I like to flip it on its head and say, well, how do I use that as a benefit? So with regards to my identity, it's who I am, and it's how I'm going to be perceived in this world, and it's what I have to give. So I look at how can I use that as a source of goodness for whatever it is I'm doing, something to feed into as opposed to something that I have to overcome. I don't know if that makes sense, but every time you hear I'm Black, so I have to do this much more, or these are the hurdles, or people don't treat me the same as this other. I look at it as, well, this is my perspective, this is my culture, this is my viewpoint, and this is what they're going to see from me. This is what they're going to get. And those who get it will get it. And those who don't, no problem, because the objective is the finish line. And I've got that clearly defined. So as far as identity and connecting it to hurdle, I don't do that as much. I don't know if it answers your question, but I look at it as, how do I tap into that identity to show the best side of what I have and feed into what it is that I'm doing.
So channeling your identity so you can move forward.
Yeah, as opposed to it being something that I have to compensate for or have as ailments. Yeah.
Dr. Hill, I wanted to know, because we've gotten a lot of kind of varied perspectives on this question. I wanted to hear what insight you might be able to provide for everyone.
Oh, this has been good. This is really, shout back to the Aggie over there from North Carolina A&T. Yes, sir. This whole thing on identity, again, and we talked about this briefly last night, Nick, the vision quest. When I was at Morehouse College, I used Native American vision quest to get to the males to talk. Now, if you've ever heard of a sweat lodge, the sweat lodge was actually picked up by the men because the women, this is a 5,000-year-old Native American tradition. The women, they had a menstrual cycle every month. And the men actually really, they revered in that menstrual cycle the women had. They said, well, they get a chance to cleanse every month, and we want to cleanse. So they created these sweat lodges, which became the same thing that we have when we go into a spa and we go into one of those hot boxes or whatever, or we get in the jacuzzi. The sweat lodge was so that they could sweat out the impurities in their system so that they could get to their pure self. And so that tradition continues, the sweat lodge. And they also smudged with smoke. They cleansed with smoke. And they cleansed with meditation, and they cleansed with the circle. And so there were 10 primary questions that they asked themselves when they went from boyhood to manhood, or girlhood to womanhood, or when they went from single life to married life, or when they went from middle age to old age, or when they went from old age to the Great Spirit. There were different answers at each point, but it's identity questions. The 10 questions were thus, and I still use this with my clients today. The first question was, why was I born a human being here on this earth? Why was I born, not a rock, not a wolf, not an eagle? Why was I born? Number 2, why must I die? Number 3, what is my name for God? What is my name for God? And who is my God? Number 4 is, who are my people? Number 5, who are my teachers? Number 6, what are the great monsters or demons or challenges in my life? Number 7, how do I overcome them? Number 8, what gifts, talents, and skills did God bless me with to give back to my community? And then number 9, am I using them effectively? And then number 10, how really want to do with the rest of my life? Now, if you can really take some time and answer those questions, it can tell you where you are now and how you can best serve your community. So I love the identity challenges, the identity questions. I love how Rob's identity, when he said, well, I have mine figured out where I'm presenting who I am. And if you get it, that's a very confident place to be. If you get it, great. If you don't get it, that's okay. I'm going to keep going because I know who I am. And we have these different identities, of course, as you said, gender, cultural, this, that, the other. We have to be careful now in America because racism has become a mental illness. And so as we maneuver, see, America's identity is what is our biggest challenge. And the battle that we have now is really over America's identity, because we found out that America was standing on a lie. America's identity had to do with things that were written down versus things that were actually lived. So we were living in a dialectical framework, and now we're just working that out. So we've got to figure out, are we the America, the land of the free and the brave, where all men are created equal? Or are we the America with the Statue of Liberty that says, send us, you're tired, you're hungry, you're heavy laden, and we'll give you rest and a job? Or are we the America that says those, that, and this? Here's the good news. In this big creative tension that we have become a majority minority country, where that the things that we sang about actually are coming true. And it scares the bejesus out of a few of us who want to maintain power and I say puritanical control over the changing dynamic that's just a demographic that can't be stopped at this point. So it's important for us to maintain our own positivity and our identity with the creator. All right, because black and white does not exist. It really doesn't exist. It's a social construct that has no scientific basis, but we lived on the lie for 400 years. And now it's unraveling. You know?
I see Anomaly Soul nodding along. Would you like to respond to what Dr. Hill just said?
Stick a fork in me, I'm done.
When he just stated that black and white doesn't exist, I've kind of lived in the margins of that my whole entire life. Up until this point, and even up until the point of actually like naming myself as an artist. So I grew up in predominantly white spaces. I grew up in the suburbs. And so like I don't quite fit, right? I don't fit in with the black kids. I talk too white. What does that mean? And then for the white kids, I'm black, and they're trying to figure out what blackness is and ask me all these questions. And so growing up, I found ways of like hiding online and the internet, creating like my own other alternative identity where I could really be free, right? Meanwhile, my parents are telling me that being an artist is not an okay job, and especially pathologizing and coming up with words and describing my grandfather, who I never met, who was an artist. And so they would say that he was schizophrenic, bipolar, he used to rob people. I never found out the story. I'm finding out more now, and I'm actually actively, talking to his family to find things out. But as a child, I just believed like an artist was not okay. So I went and became a teacher, but I was always making music, always playing music in my classroom as a way of grounding myself, because there would be moments in the classroom where I had to say those lies about race and racism and have these difficult conversations with kids, or something would happen and I would just play music for us, right? We gotta read this sad story in English class. I'm your English teacher. And they'll be like, oh, but we got some good tunes coming on, to heal us, to sit here and meditate and work it through. But I really started creating my own music as a way of even kind of dealing with the fact that I can't go to work and be my true self still as a teacher. I have to come home, and then I can code switch. Then I can curse with the music. Then I can. So I just started to just dabble and make my own playlists, and then moving to making my own music as a way of kind of giving myself the voice that I can't have in these professional spaces. And then I started actually DJing in a Discord and making songs for my online friends anonymously. And that's what gave me like my voice, were these people, and I still, those are my peoples online. So I love this type of space too, because we're connecting, but I could physically see, because it has taken me 3 years to actually unveil who I am. I've just been an avatar with purple hair online in a Discord with these people all over the globe for the past 3 years. And I've just been kind of hiding. And then someone said locally, we need some music. And I was finally brave enough to say, hey, I could DJ. And they're like, what? So that's my whole thing, is like finding my voice and actually like embracing the fact that like all of that is a lie. So like I play anything. I don't like genres. Like I play all the music all at once. If you want anime, you want house, I mix it in. I find a way to honor everyone's voice, because that's what I didn't have as a little girl. Was my dad was telling me, you can't play rock and roll. You can't play whatever. I would sneak and do it, but I didn't have that voice in my house all the time.
What I love too about that, really quickly, is that you recognize what you didn't have, right? You recognize what you didn't have. You went out and you found what was yours, and now you're helping other people find what's theirs, their voice. It all centers around their voice. That's incredible to me. I just really appreciate that there's people like you that are like that. People out there like you that are like that. Um, with that being said, though, I think that this is kind of a perfect segue to go into the industry itself, right? To have a conversation about, what it's like as artists kind of finding your voices in the industry, and, whether the industry helps you with that, whether it works against you when it comes to that. So I wanted to know, as creatives, what attitude do you feel the music industry takes towards preserving your mental health, if any? And I think actually I'd love to hear from somebody who hasn't spoken yet. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, TRYFLE.
As someone whose father somehow got out of a record deal with Virgin Records without, normal reasons. He fought his way out of that deal. And knowing that it's not their job. The record industry isn't in the business of keeping us healthy and sane and happy. It's a business. We as artists have to do that for ourselves, to be honest, because they're not going to save us. I made music because I was an orphan. I was abused. And so for me, it was survival. It was a schism. Like, there have been times when I could have made a song that could have been, okay, they want this, make that. Where in my heart, I couldn't do that. And so that left my career in a middle ground to where, it's not even selling out for me. It's more of that my heart can't do that. Like, my mental health couldn't allow me to be what they want me to be. And that's why you have so many artists who, sign bad deals. Once those deals are over, they're miserable. They're somewhere, they're in a hospital bed, and they're sad. Rest in peace to Black Rob. He had a hit. He had a huge hit. And nobody was there. He should have had people around him to protect him. But they're not going to do that for us. We have to do that for ourselves. As artists, artists have to help artists. How many of you have worked in a place where you feel like you're the only artist there?
That's a good question.
Shahari, you look like you have a thought. Yes.
Yes, thank you. I think I can talk about myself from Japanese, past experience, that I once made major debut as a singer-songwriter in the anime music industry in Japan. And I was so excited at the beginning, and that was one of my big dreams. And but it's the exactly same thing. So nobody would take responsibility for you. It's really, really sadly real. So I myself and many of my friends, artist friends, going through the same thing. So so they're gonna tell you that you have to change your way of singing, or you have to change your musical style, or even someone told me that you look so stupid, so you don't you shouldn't talk at the gig or those things. And but nobody would take responsibility. So after several years that I was trying to follow their orders, or try to learn new stuff that they ordered, and but it's good if that strategy works, but mostly don't work sadly. So you have to have really, really like a talented music producer to like go success. But so after like 10 years something, so I tried to get along with their like those requests, but I found out that oh, maybe I shouldn't just follow them, and I could have just continued my own style, because my style was kind of very complicated musical style, like putting some genres like classical and jazz and other like pop, rock, like so many genres into one song. That was my original style. But like people, like major record label people, like told me like it's your music is too difficult. You have to be like more easy for people to sing, like in karaoke or those things. That was very trend. So everybody made a very simple music. But long after that, actually the complicated music became so super trend in Japan. So, oh my god, that was my style. And some of my songs I wrote for other artists became like a hit. And so, oh, that time is following me. So I shouldn't change the style from the beginning. So if I could do that from the beginning, like not like listening to the people that much, and I could have been like more popular maybe now or those things. So I regretted a lot about that. So I learned you should be yourself. It's the conclusion, and you have to like protect yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, really, you have to be.
Those are difficult lessons to learn. Definitely.
Yeah, it is.
To allow yourself to be yourself. It sounds redundant, but it's difficult.
Yeah, it's really difficult, but it's in this time it's very lucky for us to be ourselves, because those record makers don't have that much power as before, and we have more tools like YouTube, social media. So if you're very ambitious about yourself, and you could be very like just original, and if you are getting more popular, and those people will follow you, so you could be yourself. So actually I think it's becoming more like a better time.
So let's move on to another question. I feel like that's a good spot, unless anybody else would like to speak to it. And I can repeat the question, actually. I'll repeat the question. So how has the music industry either supported you or maybe limited your ability to address your mental health?
I just want to say I think his name was Rod.
Rob?
No, not Rod. The guy who said artists have to take care of artists. I think there's some precedence for that.
That was TRYFLE.
TRYFLE, yeah, that was very powerful. There are many precedents for that. This is a precedent for that. These two spaces you guys have created. This is artists supporting artists. And there's an example I saw recently where as artists were retiring, they didn't have real retirement funds. This is back in the 40s or 50s in Hollywood. And out in LA, and I know the guys, those who are out there could speak to this, they created a retirement community and a retirement fund through SAG. And they created spaces where they could retire and live well, live out their years when they were no longer useful to the industry, when they got Alzheimer's and they got different, just debilitating diseases. And I think you guys are really on the front edge of that kind of trend where artists can create mental health spaces for themselves. That's all.
So that leads to an interesting question, which is how do we permanently impact the music industry to be a space that supports mental health awareness?
Well, I can respond. You need a movement. You need to work. This is the first step. It's the discussions. You create, you educate, you organize. Dr. King had 6 steps. First thing is research. You do research. There's probably other people out there doing the same thing you're doing right now. Just as the sister Shahari just talked about, it's an interesting, unique time for the music industry as well because of YouTube and social media. That has changed everything. So you need to find out where people are doing these independent things, the research. Secondly, educate each other about the spaces. and connect the dots like you're doing tonight with the two different orgs. I think you have two different orgs tonight. Is that right?
Yeah.
So then you start connecting the dots. You educate each other about what the needs are, what the structure will be, what you found. All right. And then the third step is self. That's where you pray and you know, making sure that there's no personal aggrandizement and it's not for you. It's for the artist and it's for mental health. Make sure you're genuine. You go through a self-cleansing piece and make sure you're committed for the long run. And then you go to the negotiating table. Now, when the artists come together, just like the unions did, you can negotiate with those who have the power and who have the money to create structures where money is devoted to this. You know, just like with major companies, they have a human resources department. They have mental health plans, the insurance companies, the whole deal. So then you begin to negotiate based on your movement, the number of people. You get not only some very influential artists, but you get a group of artists together. I mean, like Prince started a movement, right? You know, your Jay-Z's, the people who started buying their own tracks, you know, to support themselves financially and buying their own masters, things like that. It can be the same thing for mental health. You get a group of artists together and that's where the movement takes place. And then of course you create the structures based in your power. It might be a long run. It might not be popular, but you can do it. And we have a whole bunch of tabloids that are littered with the bones in the valley of people who did not get interventions, mental health interventions. I think this movie, has anyone seen J Balvin's The Boy from Medellin? Yeah, very powerful, very powerful. And he's dealing with mental health and he's the Michael Jackson of South America. And you guys know who he is. He dealt with the importance of spirituality and mental health for an artist and how he almost fell apart with depression and substance abuse. But through a tight-knit community that he created, now he did that for himself. He created a team that included a mental health guy. He had a managing agent, and he had a mental health guy, a spiritual advisor, and how that created his ability to sustain himself through meditation, mental health practices. So anyway, I say you do it as a movement, and then you engage, and you may have to protest, you may have to walk out, you may have to, not take certain contracts, but that's how you create a long run movement to make this a part of normalcy for the long run for the industry.
So
start small.
I really like that thinking process. I do want to hear too what the creators we have here think about that too, because also
I was actually going to specifically ask Rob.
There you go.
Yeah, I was going to ask Rob because Rob, you have the duality of both the music industry and the film industry, and I'm wondering if you yourself or your colleagues have an established form of mental health stability, if there is anything that is in existence, because not that I know of. Absolutely.
So I want to piggyback off the doctor's comment, but to answer your question directly, yes. So the union SAG-AFTRA has mental health assistance built in. And also, of course, we have the fund for support as far as insurance and whatnot, but there is an outlet for those who may have some mental afflictions or emotional issues. There's an outlet for that. But to piggyback off of your initial question and also the doctor's point, we're, as human beings, problem solvers by nature. Yeah. 1 year ago from yesterday, what happened? George Floyd, right? Racism isn't new in America, right? Cops killing Black people or anyone else isn't new in America. So why was this incident such a big catalyst? It's because of awareness. So the doctor answered your initial question, keep talking about it, right? Create a movement, right? The more visible the issue of mental illness, mental health is in the forefront, the more it's viewed as a problem, the more masses, those who may or may not be affected by it, will join and support because we're problem solvers by nature. And I think that's kind of the framework I have it in my mind.
problem solvers by nature. Absolutely. And I feel like, you know, the willingness of all of y'all to hop on a panel discussing mental health, I think also is a feat, because I don't think that this is a conversation that might have been had, you know, like 10, 15, 20 years ago, because mental health wasn't really acknowledged even. But as we talk about it and continue to talk about it and bring it to the forefront of the conversation, it's something that, you know, you have to address. And that's seen in many aspects, you know, mental health being one of them. Uh, Nick, would you like to ask another question?
I do, actually. So this is kind of, I know we've like, you know, I hope that this has been useful for everybody here. I mean, I really hope that everybody's really gotten a chance to kind of have their say and like really speak and really be heard and really get some advice. But I think ultimately the big question that at least I want to answer with this is, what can the industry do to support creatives' mental health?
Or
I know, I mean, this is just me. I'm just talking for me. But like for me, like I know that it's like the artists, like you have the power, right? You know, it's up to you. It's your mental health. You can take a stand, and it's better to take a stand together. But I really want to know what resources should the industry be providing? You
I
know,
also want to add to that, um, maybe not even necessarily the music industry itself, but as creatives, you know, together tonight, we have many different creatives who have, you know, everyone deals with mental health issues, and you've all told us your different ways and experiences with that. But, you know, there's also an element of how do you support each other? You know, how can you support other creatives, and how can the industry support you?
We should just keep, you know, keep making art. The more art we make, the more we're going to actually inspire everyone else to actually say their piece. I mean, like, I'll be very honest, my music, if you listen deep in my lyrics, I've dealt with mental health my whole life. My challenge was, as a 12-year-old, was I decided I could be a bad person or a good person. It was a very simple decision. And my brother was like, if you go this way, I'll be there for you. And that's it. But if you want to be a good person, it's very hard to be a good person. So I've lived with a schism, and I put that in my music. So for me, it was always two sides, you know. So when I say Keith Trifle Hudson, trifle became my defense mechanism. I made trifle to survive what I was going through.
Right.
So that's why I say ultimately, you know, I don't know what the music industry could do for artists, because the industry is so different now from when I started making music. There's no real structure anymore. You know, we have more power, and labels don't really have any power. There's no, like, you know, you don't got to go to a radio station anymore to actually blow up. You know, people are paying for what's it lists and you know, blogs and all these things, and there's no one way to actually make it anymore. So I don't know what the industry could do for us.
Well, maybe you can be independent. I mean, like many artists are independent from the industry and have found their own way that way. And that's honestly a conversation that I know we had in our interview, you know, with TCR when we sat down with you, was that discussion of like independence and prevailing your message as the artist that you are, because there's so many outlets and you don't have to go, you know, directly through this one path. Justin, I see that your hand is raised. Take a go at it.
Yeah, this is just dope. So I believe it was Rob who said this, or maybe it was Keith. I'm sorry if I got it confused. But artists helping other artists. I think is, again, very key. So for two sides for me, that's something I am mindful of now, even at the level that I am, is on one side creating the art, right? My album in 2018 was called The Separation. I talked about my broken marriage and parental alienation. Who's talking about that? Now, there are people, I did actually find that out, which I was, you know, very happy. But in knowing that, especially as a Black man, not being able to see your child, like how do you deal with that, but then put that in art somehow that's effective? That was a chance that I took. I'm already vulnerable. I say exactly what I feel, this and then the third. But this was going to another level deep. And I found out after doing it, I'm meeting men and women all over the world that are dealing with not seeing their kids, especially on some foolishness. And so I think to whomever it was, the point of putting in the art, you know, you have to do you and be you, right? Be authentic to what you do. But I do feel there is a level of responsibility, especially now more than ever, to actually dig deep and share something, but find the way to do it, right? So it can be effective. Because in me doing that album, I didn't realize how many men, I guess, wanted to bring light to something like that in the way of, you know, that's kind of outside of the norm, right? And then on the other side, I think, you know, nowadays it's like you have to be the industry. Like we are all the industry, you know what I mean? So I know one thing for me, especially given the pandemic, is when I'm working with people, it's not about just the dollar that we're trying to make or the record that we're trying to put out so we can do social media posts and all this stuff. I actually ask, how are you doing? You know, like, let's talk about that first before we get into, yeah, I need this track, I need the stems, blah, 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 right? Let's actually, you know, like we've been talking, create the space with each person that we meet. And you'll find, you know, the dynamics of how to do that each person. And sometimes it may not work every time, but I do believe that if we just do the work, just serve is what I like to call it. I think on both sides of that, we are in that way, we are doing it, but become more effective the more that other people do it.
Justin, I do want to add that I very much treasure our before event conversations and being able to be real with each other. So much appreciate that. And then Anomaly, I saw your hand was raised. Would you still like to speak?
Yeah, he almost just like took the words right out of my spirit about the whole we are the industry. I make little lo-fi glitchy songs online, but it often has a message like written right in the middle of it. And one of them I made at the beginning of the pandemic was about how F this whole algorithm stuff. We are the algorithm, y'all. There's no such thing as the algorithm. If I post something and you my people and I'm supporting you, and I'm also supporting your mental health and your spiritual wealth and all that stuff, I'm going to share your stuff because you are you and you come from a good place and you support me and I'm going to give it back, right? And when you post my stuff, there's a thank you, there's a hello, how you doing in the DMs, and we are connected. We don't have to be in the same physical space to share that love either. And so just that one look, that little heart, that little light, that little, it does mean a lot, because so many people come past content and we're flooded with all of this stuff, right? But showing love and just that look, oh, thank you for that heart, I see your heart. That we do that. There's no power anymore, like everyone's already said time and time again. So we gotta, you know, take our power, grab it, and use it.
Bolster that power, rein it in.
Did anybody else have any last thoughts on that?
I would like to just, my last thought is you guys are the leaders. You have the power. You know, this is the 50th anniversary of Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. You remember how he went left and disappeared, and he left the corporate environment of Motown, and he allowed his spirit to speak. So your music is your power. You can change the world through a song. And so it's amazing. So use your power, and I mean the power of love. You are our leaders. And when you begin to see yourself as the leader, and you take your power, and because when you're tied to the infinite, and that's where, and RA, I would just last thing to RA, as you find your truth and you stand on your truth, and you realize that you are a spirit on a human journey. You're tied to the infinite. You and the infinite is a majority. And you can change the world when you step into your truth and you find comfort in your truth. And when the spirit of truth moves, then everybody has to get out of the way. So you have more power than you can imagine with your voice. The creatives are connected to the universe more than anybody else.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love this whole thing.
Did you ever wonder if you're a superhero? Yes, you are.
Be your own superhero. Like, you know, it's all in you. The power is all in you. And I think for me, like I sing and I songwrite, and like I kind of like what you were talking about, Anomaly Soul. Like my parents did not like that. They didn't love that. They're just kind of trying to talk me out of it. And they used this idea that the industry doesn't care about you. It's not for you. There's these people out here that just don't, they're not going to support you. It's just going to be hard for you. And what I guess this conversation is really kind of cemented for me, and really the conversations that we've already had in our artist interviews for the Cultural Reset, is that as artists, we really do have the power. Like, we have the voice, we have everything. We are the industry. Like, it really, I mean, I've known this, but this really kind of hits home for me now, because like the music industry wouldn't exist without musicians. Like, hello, like it really does. Like, the corporate people behind the scenes, like, they don't make the music industry happen. It's the musicians that make the music industry happen. So I want to say that I appreciate this conversation. You know, I've really learned a lot, and I feel like I want to say too, I appreciate you, Dr. Hill, for the incredible insight that you've been able to provide from your perspective. Like, I think that that's been really useful just in general, just for my life in general. And I think a lot of the artists on here agree. So I appreciate you coming on for this as well. With that being said, though, I do want to give you guys the opportunity, all the creators, the opportunity to talk about any projects that you have coming up, any project that you just released, because I know that everybody who's looking at this also wants to hear your work and like hear your creative expression as well. So,
and at the end of the day, this is about supporting y'all, the creatives, because you are the ones that are making that change in the industry. Because you are the industry. Wow, comes back around.
Rob, I know that you just recently dropped a project.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Out now. We just put the video out a couple of days ago. Collaborated with an amazing artist from Ghana, Adina Tembi. The song's called "Love Me Love." Song came out 2 weeks ago, and the video released worldwide just a couple of days ago, and we're really excited about it. And it's my first kind of live action directing, and everyone's excited about the project and the video. And it's an honor to have Adina on board. So check it out. Let me know what you guys think. Before I hop off, though, I did want to say one last thing. I think this has been great, and I'm happy that I joined the conversation. I always remind myself one thing, and I mentioned it in our last interview, is that music is therapeutic, but the creation of it is therapeutic as well. Mm-hmm. So how can we help each other is, as someone else mentioned, is create it, but also help in the creation of it. Because, you know, people put on music for therapy sessions, massage sessions, or if you're feeling bad, you throw on your song, or if you're sad, but creating it is a whole other source of therapy that we have the privilege and honor of engaging in. And I think if we can help each other do that by any means, any form of collaboration, I think that's part of the answer. Not the entire answer, but part of it. That said, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Rob. And I do remember that part of our conversation. That's something that's very prevalent, is that creating is therapeutic, and putting yourself into the world in that form is therapeutic. Would anybody else like to, this is self-promo, people. Yes.
Shahari,
yes, you dropped a song recently.
Yes, thank you so much for the interview before.
Yes.
Yes, I recently released 2 of the singles in April and May, and I just shot the music video of the singles, and I'm gonna shoot another music video of the single. And I'm so excited that I hired the most people I've ever hired.
Good for
in my
you.
music career. And there's a very interesting thing. So I have been in the like a J-pop industry for very long, but I didn't realize that I can have the control of it, like as I mentioned before. But I can control it by myself, and I can hire the people, like talented people I love, and I just create what I like. Oh my God, that's a very amazing thing. And also, I changed a little bit of the idea that I'm when I pay the money for the creators and those things like booking the venues. Oh my God, I'm paying a lot, and like I feel a little bit scary because in this time it's hard to earn. But like, oh, it's not like losing money. I'm like using money for my own art. It's cultivating or investing, and oh, it's a wonderful thing. And that change of my mind gave me a lot of power. And so I noticed that it's like having control. It's so amazing, and I enjoy those working with those talented people I found. And so I want you guys to check my new those like singles, and I'm gonna drop a new my first full album in US in the summer. So
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
very much looking forward to that. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Yes, it's really good to find a way to have control over finances and not letting finances have control over you, because it can be the other way around.
Anybody else have any other projects?
Justin?
Yeah, I was trying to let everyone else go, but don't want to miss
I mean, we see it behind you.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, self promo. I mean, you got to do it however you can, right? But yes, y'all. First, again, thank you to everyone here. I learned and felt so much. I can't wait to connect with you all. Again, shout out to Paul and the Culture Reset. Amazing. Love and Darkness is out now. Volume 1 just came out a couple of weeks ago. It's pretty much a lot of things we're talking about right now: vulnerable, open, honest, transparent about who I am as a Black man in today's world, and how do you love in darkness. I also just released, I think last week, a song called Big Win. Very upbeat song to kind of get you in the right mindset of not focusing on the loss, but looking at the big wins, which is really the simple things. And then on Friday, I am releasing a song. It's basically my response to what happened to George Floyd, and it's so crazy how I don't even want to say anniversary, but we know his passing was just a year ago, and so the song will be out on Friday, and then later in the year, Volume 2 of Love and Darkness will come out. So please go check it out, JastinArtist.com. Follow me at JastinArtist.
Yes. Plug it.
Ara or Anomaly?
I feel like I don't really have anything huge to promote right now, since I've been taking a step back to focus on my mental health.
Respect.
Yeah, I'm really honest and upfront about my journey. So yeah, I've kind of told everyone like I was going to drop this remix that I've been sitting on for 6 months, and it's been a battle with mental health to finish it. And the universe has just said, you need more time to rest and kind of take your time, because there's no rush. So I guess what I really wanted to just wrap up and say is that I'm so grateful to have been here. And Dr. Hill is amazing. He dropped so many gems, and I really felt a lot of what was shared today. It's just so affirming, I guess, because I'm still so young. I'm 22. I'm stepping into this industry, and for a long time I didn't want to, because I've seen the underbelly of the industry. I've seen how it's affected, close ones, and even, my favorite idols and stuff. So I was really scared for a while. And I think everyone kind of echoed my thoughts here when we say that, there's no need to hold back, because we are the industry. We have the power. We are the people who can change these things. And so I think to anyone watching who may be sharing those same sentiments that I have, it's just what I like to just remind myself is just move in love. It all comes back down to love. If you show up and be present in your interactions with other artists, with other people, just be in love, and don't hide yourself away, because I've realized that in hiding myself away, I build up this resentment thinking that nobody knows what I'm going through, nobody gets it. But all my other friends are sitting there at home thinking the same thing. We all just need to be honest about it and create that space. So thank you again to everyone who has allowed me to be here, and for all that you do.
Aura, specifically, thank you so much for speaking. I mean, honestly, your self-awareness and just, I mean, it's overwhelming sometimes. Like, I teared up a little bit. I tear up a little bit every time you speak because it's just so.
Yeah,
beautiful.
I would also love the opportunity to sit down and have an interview with you.
I would love that.
You and Anomaly and Paul too, if you'd like. Because and actually, you know what, before I get into that, let's let Anomaly speak. I know that you were unmuted.
Oh, so I'm actually a doctoral candidate at my university doing research in education. And so when you guys talk about, or when Dr. Hill talked about, like, there's a need for research in this area, there is. And I do some of that work. I integrate my music and meditation into what I'm looking at in terms of teachers and fixing education. So that it tends to be the majority of where my brain is at. And then in terms of like projects, my music comes out of me reflecting and like resting. And then I'll have like an album put together. So I made one in 2020 and it's on SoundCloud. Look up Anomaly Soul. And then I have like a collection of like 20 songs right now that I need to organize, but mental health is important, as we've all talked about. So like right now, that's not where my brain is putting that together. I have other pressing things that I need to get done. I also have a podcast in which I DJ, which is typically my meditative little way that I process information and relax and get zen. But then I also record it and share it with everyone. And we are releasing the new season in June, and it's me, my sister, who's an ed psych major, and then a couple of our dope friends that we have, and we just sit around and talk about spirituality and music. I'm also playing on Mood Monday coming up. So, girls got a lot going on. So, yeah.
May 31st, yeah.
May 31st.
And I think that it's best that we left Paul for last, because this event was actually on the end of Melanin Magic, which is an event that the Sweet Sounds Collective has been putting on for this past month. Paul, would you like to round it out with what's going on with Sweet Sounds?
Yes, I would love to. Am I properly? Can you everybody hear me? Chat, you hear me? Okay, cool. I'm just gonna give a rundown about Sweet Sounds because that's my baby. I have my own personal project, but I think I have more focus in what the whole community is doing right now. I'm actually starting to manage artists. Even though they might not be BIPOC artists, it feels super empowering that they trust me to represent them. And one of our finest artists is coming out with an album tomorrow. His name is Portal. I don't know if it's okay to share his links, but whatever, let's do it anyway. Yeah, Portal. He's coming out with his second album. Also, Jabs is in here. He's amazing. He's a dubstep producer. I'm not sure if he's still here, but it's just so wonderful to connect with all these artists. It's honestly put a halt on my personal project a little bit. But their success is my success, and that fills me up more than anything that I could do and furthering my project. And I know that it will piggyback in a sense, but my past projects I create mixes that are geared towards people that are struggling with PTSD, hearing impairments, anxiety, depression, and bipolar. So all those projects also have audio visual projects on YouTube. So they're also on SoundCloud and YouTube. And they're used as a utility for like when you wake up or when you're falling asleep and you struggle with insomnia, to throw that on, or when you're starting your day and you're kind of erratic when you wake up and trying to get focused for work. That's what they're made for, a utility to lean on when you're struggling mentally. So yeah, those links I think are in my commands. But check out Sweet Sounds Collective on YouTube, and we have meditation projects from Hexagoddess, who also helped co-host this. She never knew that she would be an artist until we started working together, and now she's featured on Portal's new album, which is super cool because honestly, this whole thing is an artist incubator. We want to build up artists. We want to give them the resources that they might not have. Some artists don't know how to market themselves. So we're moving into incubation application under our LLC, and that will be coming in the next few months, offering mentorship programs with higher up producers to help lower producers move up in the ranks and get production help. And what we do best is marketing help and offering content curation and help with that, because we have a team of visual artists that are super, super talented. So if any of you guys involved in this chat need help with content curation for Instagram or whatever, we have a team of 20 visual artists that can help you with visual teasers, album teasers, whatever you want to do. But yeah, so there's not too much going on with me right now. I'm just DJing. I'm actually playing my first festival this summer, Big Dub. So I'm playing on my birthday too. It's like the best present ever. Yeah, so if you guys want to check that out, it's in PA. It's kind of more, it's a little heavy, so it might not be your cup of tea, but I'll be there playing 2 sets. One being a silent disco, that's drum and bass, and then actually the one that I'm performing on my birthday is at 3 a.m. with Hexagoddess closing out the set, doing a meditation segment. So I'm going to be bringing meditation bass to a community that's just mostly heavy bass and rhythm. So going to shake it up a little bit, and I just can't wait. But my project is very meditative bass, and I'm being patient with my productions because I'm perfectionist, but that's sure to come. But yeah, Sweet Sounds is at the forefront for me. I treat it like my job every day, and my personal project is just a hobby right now, but it's starting to turn into a profession, and that's what's kind of scaring me mentally. Is just I deal with a little bit of imposter syndrome here and there. So I actually the people I work with remind me that I'm really good at what I do, and that's the best feeling in the world. If you want to see what one of my performances looks like, subscribe to this channel I played yesterday or on Monday. If you kind of want to see how I spin.
Paul, you're incredible, and I want to say that I appreciate this partnership.
It's the first of many.
First of many.
That's for sure.
First of many, I hope. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Culture Reset. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it.
Absolutely.
But we are a platform that we have a mission essentially to uplift POC and LGBTQ plus and disabled artists in the music industry. So we try to do that through artist interviews where we talk to some of the artists and we talk about their experience navigating the industry. Some of the artists on this panel have actually been on our artist interviews. Shout out Rob, shout out Shahari, shout out Justin. And our goal
also TRYFLE, who was here earlier, had to leave.
TRYFLE too, and Kristen as well. But our goal is to really kind of do what we were talking about on this call, right? So put the voice back into the control of the artist, right? So we love getting artists a space to kind of talk about their experiences and their projects. We also do album reviews on albums by POC and LGBTQ plus artists. We do playlists as well, featuring that as well. So I mean, our whole goal is to find a way to bridge the gap between the music business and these kind of marginalized creatives that the music business doesn't always believe in, doesn't always invest in, and don't always, pay enough attention to. So.
I also want to say that this conversation doesn't end here. I am really proud that we all came together, and it was really awesome to collab with Sweet Sounds, because I know that, like going forward, we would also like to work with the artists that y'all work with. And I think it's important that I also mentioned that, being a part of the Cultural Reset, like having been in these interviews with us, it's a very intimate setting. And I feel like this was also that very intimate setting. And we're just trying to curate a place where it's okay to be vulnerable and discuss what isn't normally discussed. And also connect creatives, because y'all, when we work together, so much more is done. And it's really magical when you bring two different styles together, or two different creatives who have two different skills. I know that after this call, I would love for all of the creatives to connect via social media, via collabing together, via becoming BFFs, like whatever it may be. We would love to be that liaison to bring people together and to continue to do that with the platform. And we're always open to new ideas. There will be many more events in the future, and we hope to be able to bring back these artists and other creatives in the industry and have an ongoing relationship where we continue to support you, whether it's bringing in mental health professionals or sitting down and discussing what an ideal award show should look like. Because let me tell you what, there's a lot of room for improvement in award shows. Let me tell you what. Yeah, I don't know if you have a better ending note, Nick. Would you like to wrap it up nicely?
That was literally perfect. The last thing I could possibly say is, if you'd like to, feel free to follow us on our socials. I know they're probably in the Twitch chat as well. But at TC Reset is where we're at on Instagram. Our website is www.cultural-reset.com. We have a YouTube channel where we post all of our interviews, and we actually have some new different content coming up as well to help young creatives in the industry. So you can follow us at The Cultural Reset on YouTube. We have a Facebook page that has that same tag. We're everywhere, essentially. So follow us if you'd like.
Follow everybody here. Everybody here. They've all got social media. Believe it.
Yes, everybody's links have actually been included in the Twitch channel, in the Twitch chat, actually. So everybody's watching, please follow everybody. And I want to say too, and this is like the final note. I know we keep saying final, but thank you. I guess honestly, just thank you guys so much for joining this discussion, believing in us and Sweet Sounds enough to really join this discussion and have this conversation, because it's the first of many, hopefully to come in the industry. So, and thank you, Dr. Hill, for coming out with this insight.
For sure.
Incredible.
Thank you, Dr. Hill.
You guys in chat that came through for this is so important.
You're welcome.
Just to be here for these artists that are often marginalized, and you choosing to be here. You could be anywhere right now, and you chose to be in a very, very delicate.
Oh no, your audio is not going through.
Oh, my audio.
Oh no, Paul.
Can you hear me now?
Paul. Okay. Just thank y'all. Hey, you guys. It was a blessing. It was fantastic. Keep the good vibe. And remember, here's a quick, just an end of the session quiz. What are the 3 rules to working in the music industry?
Oh, I got this one.
Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself and take care of yourself.
Yes, sir.
Did I ace it?
God bless y'all. With that, I'm out. And I love it. And shouts out to the HBCU, brother. God bless you.
Yes, sir. See. God bless you, man.
Have a great night.
All right. Peace.
All right, y'all. With that said,
wait, Paul, were you able to get your thing through?
Yeah, I think so, because I'm using my phone. I just thought you guys can hear me, but I don't think the chat can. That's the problem.
Would you like me to relay the message?
Can the chat hear me? Chat can hear me?
Chat is fine.
Chat is fine. Okay. I just want to thank you guys in chat, especially that are all still here. There was 40 people in here at one point, and that means so much. This is coming here to hear this discussion and participate in discussion with artists that are often marginalized and don't get the chance to be heard. It just means so much. Like, there's more people here than that were for me to see me spin yet on Monday, and I don't even care. That's amazing. I just want to thank you guys so much, because like, you guys could be anywhere in the world right now, but you chose to be here to hear this discussion, and I hope it helped you as much as it helped me, because I feel amazing right now. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right. Any closing words, anybody?
Thank you so much. We'll see you around.
Thank you for tuning in.
Take care of yourself.
Can't wait for the next one.